I am Sean Webb, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Rock Goddess, and I am rolling with Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Dave Meltzer, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Zach Poitra, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
What is up, Superior Nation? Welcome back. I'm Trey Downs, and this is Your Superior Self. Thank you for joining. Thank you for downloading. Please leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast from. It helps me scale this to the masses and get this to those who may need it the most. And I feel like today people will need to hear the story of Robert Imbeault, the author of the amazing book, Before I Leave You. And Rob shares a story in the book about how he experiences, his life. His memories of being raped as an 8-year-old, how his life was turned upside down, how he was fueled by drugs and alcohol, and how he battled with suicide. And he attempted it a couple times, and we talk about that. And in his book, his memoir, Before I Leave You, is his account of those memories of his trials and tribulations, of his dark night of the soul. And I want to recognize Rob for sharing his story. It's not easy sharing vulnerable stories like Rob has done in this memoir, about being abused sexually, experiencing drugs, and attempting suicide. That's not easy to experience in your own life, let alone write about it and put it out there for other people to read, especially your family and friends and neighbors and people that that know you. Like that is, and we talk about that in the interview. And shout out to you, Rob, man. That is powerful stuff. And thank you for making yourself vulnerable so that others may heal, that others will gain the strength and bravery to step forward, to gain the treatment and therapy and recognize it in their lives, and not and allow them not to keep covering it up and acting like it never happened, to seek out treatment, to seek out help, to deal with that, and to get back on the path of healing. That is the most important thing here. If you are experiencing any abuse of any type, please seek out treatment. If you are experiencing suicidal thoughts, please call the hotline 1-800-273-8255 and call and talk to someone about what you're going through. Better yet, pick up Rob's book and read his story and get inspired to recover on your path, to get back on your path of healing. And just to throw some numbers out there so you guys are more aware about what's going on in the world of mental health, suicide has increased 33% from 1999 to 2017. And that is an average of 10.5 to 14 from 10.5 to 14 suicides per 100,000 people. And it ranks as the 4th leading cause of all death for people ages 35 to 54, and the 2nd overall leading cause of death from ages 10 to 34. 10. That is just saddening. And it now is more important than ever because of the times that we live in with COVID and self-isolation and mental awareness that is related to that, and not being able to get out and see your friends. Like, think about those 10-year-olds that are experiencing this isolation. We think it's hard on us as adults, but for a child to be living in this time of mass uncertainty and the political propaganda and everything that goes along with that, and how they're not allowed to go back in schools, and how stressful it can be with online learning and not seeing your buddies and not hanging out with your friends and feeling isolated from everyone else. It can take a toll on them, and that is something that I want you guys to think about with your children, if you have any, or kids in your neighborhood, I mean, they are feeling every bit of this quarantine. And even though they might not look like it, I mean, that statistic says it all. And yeah, so I want to say thank you to Rob for really coming on the show and just being transparent with his story. I mean, even though this is kind of a lighter conversation, there still remains a big problem, and we need to do more things in our power to promote that and get that awareness out there. Now, before we get into the interview, I just want to give you a heads up. I have technical difficulties in the middle of the interview. I actually lose Rob for a little bit, and then we reconnect and I pick back up. But you won't be able to really tell that in the episode, because I will be able to edit that, and it will seem kind of weird. There might be like a little bit of a lag, or a conversation that is being you'll probably be kind of confused with what we're talking about. It's like right around the time we're talking about Audible, and we make a joke that Audible hacked into our interview and shut us down. But and I'm sorry if I feel like this, like I'm going like this Debbie Downer like mode or something, like, and I apologize. Like, I wish that every episode can be uptick and uplifting, but at the same time, like this conversation that I have with Rob is very light, and we do talk about some serious issues. However, I am passionate about mental health, and personally, I struggle with anxiety and depression, and it's something that I am not ashamed of. It is something that I deal with, and it's something that I know when I'm in it, and I know that it's not something that you can flip a switch and get out of. And it's something that, I look at as a challenge for me. I know what the body does chemically that produces those moods, that produces those mental states. And I have to look at it like that. I have to realize, what the body is doing and how I can get myself back on track and think more positive. And one way to do that is to listen to shows like this one that put it all out there, that talk about things that fire me up, and talk about methods that we can use to be more productive and be more spiritual and be more positive. And that's why I do the podcast, is because people out there need to hear this stuff. They need to be able to connect with people like Rob Imbeault and hear their stories and find out more information about them, so they can gain the knowledge and the wisdom that they need to move on in their lives. Yeah. So without further ado, here is my conversation with the great and powerful Rob Imbeault.
Hi, this is Rob Imbeault, and this is Your Superior Self.
Nicely done, man. Thanks, Rob.
I've been listening.
Thank you for coming on the show, man. You're a pro at this. Nice little intro. So what's up? What do you got going on, man? I know what I want to talk to you about, but just give everybody like a background on you. What are you up to?
Background on me. Right now, I'm looking at moving, so life is all crazy, and working on another book. I guess background, I'm from Montreal, Canada, and had some difficulty, as I'm sure we'll get into. I'm a tech entrepreneur, and kind of went awry for a few years, and retired a little young just to raise my daughters, and look for truth.
Look for truth. Have you found it?
I think so, but it's not something you hold on to, right? It's something that comes in these flashes of moments, and you step back and you're like, I just had it. So you keep searching.
That's awesome, man. Your book is pretty legit. Before I Leave You, it's a memoir on suicide, addiction, and healing. Now, oh, man, I know why you wrote it, but talk about writing that, right? Like, what did you feel?
Right. So I'd like to start off with, what I'm doing now, because it is a happy ending, and some of the things that I do talk about in the book are triggering. So I do make it, and there is healing. But in writing that book, I mean, I didn't write a book. I wrote a secret goodbye to the people I loved. And it was in writing that I really found solace. I found therapy. So I kept writing, and it became, it turned into more of an apology than anything else. Like, this is how I'm feeling. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've decided to end my life. And I get through it. Like, some of the writing itself turns into a therapy, and it like branches of healing start to settle in. And once I changed my mind, essentially, and it comes at a point in the book where I apologize to the reader. I share what I had written with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, and she says, you have to share your story. You can help people with this. And that's when it became more of a book. And, looking back and writing it is the most cathartic and awful things that I've ever had to do. But I'm glad I did.
But I mean, writing that, you got to be like, I don't know. It's like putting yourself out there, right? For the masses, for the whole entire world to know who you are, Rob. You know what I mean? Like, in your darkest hour, you know what I mean? Like, explain that. Like, what? All right. So when the book first came out, like, I mean, all right. So your now wife says you have to write this book. And so you're okay, I'll write it. All right, fine. The writing process is basically you're writing it, and it's like you're there working on it. So you're in that. You don't really think about it, but then you send it to the publisher, right? And then it comes out, and you're like, oh shit! Like, people are going to read this. Like, did that ever hit you at all?
Oh my God, did it ever? I reached out to a famous NHL player who has a groundbreaking book called Playing with Fire, Theo Fleury. And I reached out to him on Twitter, and I said, I have the same sort of book. Like, he was a whistleblower, and he had been raped from his coaches when he was young, like over 150 times. And other kids came out and stuff. And I just said, were you afraid at all? He's like, are you kidding? I shit my pants. And we connected over that, and we ended up having a Skype call for a couple of hours, where he said, you're going to help a lot of people. Prepare yourself, because people are going to share. And that's what I didn't expect. He's like, you're going to be so vulnerable. People are going to want to be vulnerable with you. And I didn't know how to take that. And when I did my pre-release, it scared the shit out of me, because my pre-release is family and friends, and family and friends don't really know, so 30% of my family and friends respond with sharing. They're sharing some sort of trauma that they've gone through. And it was upsetting and awful, but I was able to provide a safe space. I was prepared, at least after having that conversation, and which helped a lot. But then it gets overwhelming very quick. And then people are calling me like a hero, and people are saying, you're so brave, you're so courageous. And what the hell do you do with that? Like, that's something that I had more trouble dealing with than, revealing everything. I had come to terms with revealing everything. A great therapist. I know I'm a part of a men's group, so I got used to sharing and listening to people share. But yeah, on the launch day, it just sort of, hitting that, or just waiting till midnight till the publisher says, okay, it's out. That was a little overwhelming. And I guess it struck a nerve, because it did well right off the bat.
So dealing with childhood traumas and how it sometimes can escalate to addictions, and basically the biggest thing that I noticed, like, on your website, was being able to forgive yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Like, forgiving yourself, what does that mean to you?
So there's several levels, right? Like, I want to say it was kind of a repressed memory, although it was there. I knew something had happened. I just didn't know how bad it was. And it informed who I became for the majority of my life, and which was really difficult to have relationships with. A complete workaholic. What I did was, which was my first addiction. So I did quite well in business, but I didn't do well with relating to people. And my thought of success was, anybody's, thought of success, growing up in the 80s, which is grab, get stuff. And I got the stuff, and I got the, the house and the cars and the nice wife. And I was still like tormented and treating her awfully, and treating it like I just couldn't have friendships and stuff. So forgiving myself for the person I became was a big deal, after realizing who I was. And then when I had that memory, and this is, the crux of the book, when that memory came back, turning to drugs and alcohol for those 4.5 years, really forgiving that person, because I hurt a lot of people, just an awful person. And we were talking about Aubrey Marcus. I had my first mushroom experience as a party drug, and it was an introspective, awful, worst trip that you can possibly. Is like 8 to 10 hours of just looking at yourself and who you've become. And I'm trying to pop as much ecstasy to overwhelm the trip, and it's just not working. And it was only months later I realized it was just a mirror. And it was terrible, and I needed it, but I hated it. So I had to change, and I changed.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that when you take mushrooms, like, you're gonna see some crazy shit. Like, that is just the point. Like, that's why a lot of people do it in rituals, like spiritual rituals. Like you talked about Aubrey Marcus. He talks about, shamanism, and we talk about, everything that's associated with that. And he did it I think it was like a 7-day.
Oh, ayahuasca thing.
Yeah, ayahuasca retreat.
Yeah.
He did a darkness retreat where he was completely in dark quarters for 7 days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What you meet there, right? Like, you meet you
Mhm.
meet the self, you meet yourself. And
Mhm.
I asked him about that, and I was like, are you scared? I don't know if it was on the interview or not, but he's like, no, because I know what I'm going to meet. But he's met that before. And when you're like yourself, like when you meet that self for the first time, it's scary, because you keep building these layers and layers on top of this trauma, and you're trying to cover it up with something because you don't want to see it. And then when it's like you forget about it, and then you take mushrooms or you take a psychedelic, and it takes all that junk out. It clears it all out, and you see the true being that is you, and it confuses you and it scares you because you didn't realize that's who you were, but it is you. It's your essence.
It really, really, truly is. I had this conversation today with someone, and I just said, be honest. And she's like, so just be honest. I'm like, be 100% honest. There's like a trope that goes out, tell the truth, no matter, even if your voice shakes. And she's like, you're just honest with everything. Like I tell my wife everything. She's like, you tell your wife everything. I'm like, yes, absolutely. I tell everybody everything, because keeping something is that little pearl of anxiety. So you have this little lie, and they build, and just like you said, they layer and they layer and they layer, and you have to worry about who said what to whom. And like, I don't want that kind of anxiety. And why not just be truthful and get it over with, and just be yourself. I've since taken a better look at psychedelics. I read Michael Pollan's book, and Harvard Psychedelics Club, and Be Here Now, of course. And I had another experience recently, and I know how to go in now. You go in with intention. You go in with, your set and setting and your guide, and you're willing to. You can't turn it off, right? So you have to accept, what's presented to you. If you go in with open arms and you're okay with it, you know you're going to get through.
It's crazy.
It's still scary as shit. It's still scary as shit.
It's scary, the unknown, right? It's change. It's like, I just said this today. It's the change that, it's the fear of the unknown. It's like, you don't know. Just for the record, I've never done mushrooms or psychedelics or anything, shaman, I've never done any of that. Ayahuasca retreat. I am trying to do it naturally. Like, I'm trying to physically alter my consciousness, and by meditation and by different techniques. Robert Monroe Institute, they have some tapes that they have, and they do what is it called? It's hemisync, It's like
Okay.
these
Yeah.
different sound patterns that they play in these
Mhm.
in the headphones, and through his voice, they can try to get you to a deep relaxation, and there's 21 levels of consciousness they tries to get you through, and I'm really heavy into that stuff because you start. I don't know. Robert Monroe is famous for being able to project his soul out of his body at night
Oh,
when he
okay.
sleeps. It's crazy. I know it sounds
Wow.
crazy.
Mhm.
Out of body experiences. And then he has these 21 levels of consciousness, that these tapes that you can buy, and you can look them up, Robert Monroe Institute.
Mhm.
And it takes you through these different levels. It's like, it's like mushrooms for the non-mushroom taker.
Right.
And you experience the same thing. You experience the self, you experience the true essence of yourself, and you see, I mean, basically he talks about meeting the guides and meeting higher intellects and understanding why we're here and the different, we're a multi-dimensional being, and people are listening now are like, what the hell are you talking about? But if you're not ready for that kind of stuff, like you're not like you, it's an awareness. It's an awakening. Like you can't listen to my podcast right now and not understand that, because my first episodes, I don't sound anything like this. Like it is a process. Like that is why we're here, to learn, to develop,
For
knowledge for
sure.
the knowledge. And it's like each level, it's like a staircase going up, and each step is a different level. And, and your books is, you can see it, you can see the difference in who you are right now as opposed to, who you were. And that's why, that's why we're here, man. We're here to
Hmm.
heal. And your
For
book
sure.
does that. Your book is going to heal a lot of people. And like, you got to feel good about that.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. From I've heard that that I've stopped 2 suicides. I had someone drop off a birthday present at my door, and just sort of like text me outside. It's like, it's COVID, but I really appreciate this. It's
COVID.
crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I think I hope it is. I'm proud that it is actually. Yeah, what it's amazing. Uh, it's amazing what sound can do, because you mentioned the sound therapies. There's different types. I did a treatment called EMDR, which is bilateral stimulation, and one of it is sound. And they say like these long distance runners can really, they're working through shit when they're doing their super marathons. And bilateral stimulation, that's what it's doing. It's just beep beep beep, left right, and you process those memories, and you can better envelop them. You can better process them when you're going through that. So I think that's part of it, and the Robert Monroe stuff, I think that's, I want to say, antivagal, I forget it, it's binaural or something like that. Anyways, I've heard such good things. I think there's a big program coming out of Australia with my therapist that wants to try out some of that sound therapy. Anyways, sounds pretty awesome.
It's great.
Sorry,
I tried it
digressing
today.
from the book.
No, you're good, man. I love this. I was trying it today. Like I've done it twice today, just because I'm trying to get there.
Mhm.
But I feel different. I feel different. I feel like like there's studies done that it helps, some of these listening therapies can help your memory. It can help you, be more cognitive, somehow boost your IQ. I don't know how it does that, but definitely interested in that. But
I think any time spent trying to improve yourself speaks to your character, right? And like something, whenever we all try it, we just got to recognize that I'm putting an effort into myself, right? So like I'm doing good. It's important to understand that. I just finished my 1,000th uh, insight timer meditation session, and I did the Vipassana retreat as well, the silent retreat. And I just did the yeah, yeah, that wasn't a great experience. It's not for everyone.
why is that? Like, what? I mean, for you.
For me, I wrote an essay on it. I went in and it says, if you have childhood trauma, check off this box. And I didn't. I chose not to. I'm like,
Oh
I've
yeah.
gone through it. I had written the book already. It was actually still with the publisher because it took 8 months to get out there. And so I had wanted to do this. We just, my wife and 16-month-old traveled for 10 months, and we just got back. I'm like, I'm doing this. And day one is awesome because I'm not around a toddler. I'm just chill. This is nice and quiet. Day 2, you're just, this is kind of weird. There's other stuff that goes on. But day 3, you're looking at yourself and you're like, okay, brace yourself. And by day 4, I had the image of a little boy hiding beside this 12-foot white figure. And it was my ego. It was the little boy inside me hiding behind my ego. And I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't get away from it. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't get away from it. When I closed my eyes, and then fear struck me. I thought I was losing my family. Like, just shit went nuts. And by day 6, I had to pull the cord.
Wow.
I had to leave.
That's great. And it was a 7-day retreat?
10.
10 day.
10.
Oh.
And
so like
I've
no
never
cell
been
phones, no nothing like that?
No cell phones, no talking, no, there's literally you're in with like 60 or 70 other men on the men's side, and you can't look anyone in the eye. You can't, gesture. There's nothing. And we want to we're Canadian, we want to say thank you, but you can't look people in the eye. You're looking down. Even when you're eating, you're in it. So it's 10 to 12 hours of meditation a day. So after 60 straight hours of meditation, I'm like, okay, I think I got it. I think I can't do it. And it's funny because before I went, I heard Tim Ferriss's episode. He's like, no, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
I was like, oh, come on, really? Okay. And then, I made the mistake of not being honest going in. So maybe
that's what happens, man. You don't be honest, you get dishonest.
Right? It's right. Yeah. It's right in my face. Yeah.
I literally just said this last episode. Like, I'm going to put this out there because I feel like more people need to listen to this. So I don't know how to get away with it, but this on YouTube, if you go to Mulligan Brothers, there is a bunch of inspirational content, like inspirational speakers, like just a bunch of like, a lot of high powered speakers. It's like I don't know, it's like some music, some inspirational music and some quotes, and Tony Robbins. I don't know who the guy is that I've been listening to recently. I would love to know his name so that way I can give him credit for this. But he basically says, like, he talks about 99% of us is stuff that we can't see, like everything that's looking out behind the eyes. That's that's your essence. Like our consciousness is only the 1%. Everything else is unconscious or subconscious. And then he goes on to say about the honesty stuff. He's like, if you're going through life right now and bad shit is just happening to you all the time, it's because you're probably putting out dishonest stuff. Like you're not doing the right things. You're not doing the right stuff that is going to bring it back to you. It's like this mirror. Like you just portray that, like whatever you're portraying at the mirror is going to portray back at you. So, but sometimes it could be you're going through that life's desert part where things are happening for a test, but I mean, what you can do is try to change and try to put that honesty out there. Like you were talking about, just being honest with everything and that's so much easier to be just honest no matter what. And then have, just watch and wait and see if the universe is going to portray that back on you. And most of the time it will. Like, I've definitely noticed that in my life when I was struggling through things in certain areas and, with the podcast, when I was really freaking trying hard to get this thing out. And I was doing all the wrong stuff, just trying to, playing the algorithms and trying to, just Facebook ads and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And like, all the media, social media and the marketing aspects of stuff. And it wasn't me. And I didn't, it didn't show. I felt weird. I don't know. It showed in my life because bad things were just, like my family, like I almost lost my family because I wasn't paying attention to them. I was more worried about getting this out there, and I didn't have the systems in place that helped me divide that or keep those boundaries up. And it took that, that loss, almost loss, I should say, to really awaken me and be like, man, this isn't, this is a great tool, but you're abusing that right now. Like you're abusing it, what it can be. And I wasn't being honest. It wasn't like I'm lying about who I am or what I was doing. It was just the way that I was going about it wasn't honest. It wasn't like, and sometimes when you fight that current, like when you're in that river and you're fighting that current, like you're just working so much extra harder to go nowhere. And it's like, just go with the current. Don't change the river. Let the river take you where it needs to go. And so like, that's what I've been really focusing on, like just putting out honesty,
surrendering to life's flow.
Surrendering to life.
Yeah, no, I'm I feel you. So this is just getting the book out. I'm so happy for podcasts because more often than not, it's just the ability to be honest, right? To be vulnerable, to talk to people like yourself. It's amazing to hear that. Like, I don't want to put up Facebook ads, or I have no idea how that stuff works. And I've looked at it and I'm like, oh, how do you get celebrities to endorse your book? I'm like, why do I want to do that? I'm like, if they'll find it, if it's good, and if it makes sense, and let the publishers deal with it. Or, everyone's like, get a following. I'm like, I don't know how to get a following. I don't like social media because I like spending time with my girls. Like I don't, not a big, like I don't have Instagram because it gives me anxiety, right? Like I can't do it. But I just want to be me. So I want to write, I want to be a writer. So writing books, publishing essays, publishing that stuff, like that's what I wanted to do. And I want to spend time with my family. So that's what I want to do. But I hear you, because you get caught up. Every once in a while I'm like, oh, publisher sends you a little master class. Okay, well, let's go look at that. I'm like, okay, well, these 5 things I'm probably not going to do, I'm being honest. And then I find some other authors, like authors don't like people don't like to market themselves when you're trying to be authentic. I guess it's kind of like a paradox, especially for podcasters, right? You want to be an authentic human, but you also want to be seen. So how do you do that? But other authors just like, no, just do what you do, make good art.
Oh, right? Man, I love that. But it took me so long to realize that. Like I started reading a lot, not a lot. I read Chase Jarvis's book, Creative Matters.
Creative Live.
Like yeah, Creative Live. Yeah. His YouTube's, or not YouTube, but Creative Live, his website. I'm a huge freaking fan of Stephen Kotler. Shout out to him. Stephen, you're my boy, Kotler. I read all of his books. My favorite one being Stealing Fire. It's about flow techniques and how you can get human optimum performance out of flow states, neuroscience.
Yeah, and that was the second one, right? The first one
that was the second
Becoming
one.
Superman.
Rise of Superman is the first, and that was more so about how extreme sport athletes can kind of leverage flow.
There's a whole Laird Hamilton section that just blew me away.
Dude, it's insane, right?
It's insane. And then I saw like Laird released that footage too. You can see it, right? To that big heavy wave that he. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good, bro. This is what the show's about. Interrupt away. You got a cool story? Let me know. But yeah, no, Rise of Superman was cool. It was very cool. It was like my introduction to flow. And then that's when I learned about Chick Sent Me High. And I started reading his publications. And then I met Sue Jackson. I didn't meet Sue Jackson, but I guess I met her. Email. Sue Jackson was actually on the show a couple of, maybe like 5 episodes back. I can't remember. I lost track. But she worked with Chick Sent Me High, and we talked about flow, and athletes experience this quite a lot when you're in that zone. Authors, you guys experience this quite a bit. Like whenever you're like, so Stephen Kotler will get up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because he's in that theta state. Right. As far as the brain waves. So he'll get up in the theta state, coming out of his sleep. He'll get a cup of coffee, and he'll go downstairs and he'll write like a madman because he's in that zone. And a lot of guys, a lot of authors, a lot of women, I shouldn't say just guys, but they feel like when they're writing, it's coming from somewhere else. It's not coming from them. Like you feel like some authors will describe it as it's like the writing will come from the earth up through them and to the computer. It's because that loss of self. It's like that prefrontal cortex is shut down and that loss of self is gone. You're in that flow state. And I know I'm all about creativity, man. That's why I go for long runs. It's to get those brain waves moving. It's, going from beta to alpha to theta, and flow happens. I think flow's on that line of alpha theta. But not to steal the interview from you, I just went blank, but
Well, if you lose time, that's my sense of flow. Twice this week, and most days, well, a good half a days, I'm not writing a word. I'm like, if I'm not feeling it, I'm like, I'm just gonna go read, I'm gonna take notes and stuff, but I'm not actually writing. But twice this week, I just lost. Like, I just sort of like, okay, because I'm doing two different projects, and I'm just okay. I need to do this, and I'm writing a column for a Good Men project, and so I have to get those in every week. But I start writing, and then I was just like, oh yeah. It's like, shit, it's been 3.5 hours. I'm late. I'm late for like going home. Text, my wife's lighting up my phone. I'm like, I'm sorry, because I have to shut off the internet, obviously.
sure.
And like, oh yeah, when you lose time, is flow. And when we were traveling for 10 months, we did Southeast Asia, the three of us, and I learned how to surf. And I did the Hawaii thing where they put you on a big foam thing, and you're not really surfing, you're standing on a big foam thing.
Yeah.
And then we went to Bali, and it's pretty dangerous there, so you learn how to surf or you cut the shit up your legs. So the first wave you catch, and it may have been that Rise of Superman as well, but the first wave you catch, you're just connected to the earth, and it feels like perfection. Everything's right, and I just felt like it could have been hours, but you're riding a wave for 15 seconds. Right? But it's perfect for 15 seconds, and for the next hour you're getting your ass kicked out of these waves trying to paddle back out, and it's worth it every single time.
It's crazy.
So
They
you
take
lose time,
yeah,
more,
you lose
more or
time,
less.
and it's very therapeutic. They're actually, I think they're doing studies with like soldiers that are coming back from wartime and that are struggling with PTSD. They're taking them out there, and the surfing, they'll do the surfing and they'll come back on the beach and do like one-on-one sessions with therapists. And I think that flow state is helping them lose that sense of self and that timelessness, and being able to cope with, the tragedies and things like that a little bit better. Stephen Kotler knows the science behind it a little bit more so than I do, but I think he started surfing, and that's how he discovered it. In Rise of Superman, he talks about, I think he was battling a bout with Lyme's disease or something like that. Like, he was bedridden for a long time.
Right.
And he was doing some coverage on skiing, and that's when he got Lyme disease or something like that. I don't know. He's coming on the show. I'm going to talk to him about that later on, but he learned about some of the extreme sports athletes and the records they were breaking, and he's like looking at it, on a time chart, and he's like, the time, like, these guys are breaking these records in like 6 months, another 6 months someone would come back here and break another record, and they're just breaking these records like crazy. Why are they doing this? So he went and studied it, and that's when he learned about flow. He discovered it while he was surfing. He was like, just like how you described it, like this timelessness, like this one with earth. Like, he got addicted to that and wanted to know why this was happening. And then all of a sudden he starts writing about flow, and now he's like the flow master. I actually watched him. You should definitely check him out on Creative Live, because he does a great master class on creativity.
Nice.
Yeah, it helped me out big time.
Nice.
And
Cool.
Another thing that helped me out with creativity is shutting it all out, right? Like, I don't know if you do this at all, but like, I like when I'm trying to be creative for the show or an episode or get inspired for like an interview like this, like, I gotta be in silence, man. Like, I really gotta center myself and find that true self and get that inspiration, because I don't know where this interview is going to go. Like, I don't script anything out. I used to, like, my first couple episodes I would script out, but I just want to have a conversation, man. Like, just have a great conversation with a good dude like yourself or whomever. And just like when you're an author and you feel this vibe, this energy, this flow coming through you. Like, I feel that when I'm doing interview. Like, I don't know where these thoughts come from. They just pop up. It's pretty amazing.
It's great. You can tell that with your episodes. And it should be that way, right? I'm doing a series now. I'm doing like just a limited 6-part series where I'm the interviewer, and I have questions, but I have 6 questions, and I haven't gone past number 2 because we just go where we go.
It's awesome, man.
Because I think that's way more important, because and they appreciate it, and I appreciate it, and the content is better. I think the listeners are going to appreciate it. So yeah.
No, definitely. They want to hear, like, people want to be a part of the conversation.
Right.
That's why do you think there's TED? You know what I mean? Like, people want, well, I mean, so Richard Saul Wurman was the original founder of TED. And I saw him at a talk, and he basically said that it was created on the concept that he wanted to get people together and have a dinner talk. And like his first TED or whatever, his concept of TED was like, 9 people or 8 people, and they each team up on stage together and they have a conversation. So my brother-in-law, Joe, put together this event called Complicated Conversations. And Richard Saul Wurman, he came, and Stephen Kotler came, and they put him on the stage and 2 chairs facing each other in the crowd, and they had a conversation. And that was the most, well, I wouldn't say most, but it was definitely one of the most memorable moments for myself, because there's nothing like being a part of that conversation. Like, not knowing exactly where it's going to go, but like, 2 great minds are sitting there, and like, what are they going to talk about? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they could talk about we can bullshit. People just want to be a part of the conversation. Like it's in our DNA, it's in our genetics that we want to be a part of the tribe. Like we want our biological chemicals in our brain to give us that dopamine or whatever it is. I can't remember which one it is I think it's serotonin or oxytocin, one of the 2, that make you feel a part of the tribe. So you're not feeling, left out and alone and vulnerable to be killed by a big, gigantic lion. But
yeah, there is that.
There is that.
There is.
I mean, but we don't have that threat anymore, right? It's all social stress now. It's all like, like you said, Instagram.
That's got to be a part of the reason for podcasts, just taking off. There's like, a million podcasts now. Back when we used to drive to work. But,
I know, man.
Because that was a big part of my life, that like I didn't mind being an hour away because I'd consume amazing content. And like sitting in your car in complete silence, you're a part of that conversation.
Sure.
I loved that. I'd write notes and like, okay, it costs a lot of money because they mention a lot of books, and I have to go read the books. It's like, you're killing me.
Awesome. I always stress Audible. Like, I'm not sponsored yet, but Audible is like a huge tool for me. Like I listened to so much, and they caught me. Like, you used to be able to, and I hope they don't like sue me or anything, but you used to be able.
Get sponsored.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest.
You gotta be honest. You gotta put it out there. But I would like return the book, you know what I mean? Like saying that it wasn't a fit for me or whatever. And they would give you a credit. And I just kept doing that until they caught me and they said, no more returning books. I'm sorry, but whatever you buy, you buy. I got away with that for like 8 times. And then they were like, no, you can't do that. I guess they put a lock on my account where I can't return any more books. So I better like what I like. But I 100% love it's amazing. Like, it's not, like, I don't know, do you even consider that reading, like Audible? Like, does that count as a reading? Yeah.
What I love more, like, and I love Audible, by the way, so please sponsor.
Yeah. All the lights went out. It was nuts. Daughter came running in here crying.
Oh no.
She's good at everything.
Did you get my email? I think we pissed off some people at Audible. Shut that guy down.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Do not pay attention to what we said about Audible.
No.
They will shut your house
what
down.
we do love about Audible is that they're selling my book. No. Have you heard David Goggins' book?
Oh my God. Like, yes.
So like they're adding more to the book, right? They're adding the questions and answers. I'm listening to Malcolm Gladwell's Talking to Strangers now, and he'll have the real people in interviews, their voices, and real media coverage, and real, like, it's more of a production now. And if you heard his podcast, Revisionist History, it's kind of like that. So you're getting a lot more now out of audiobooks than you are with the book. I find. I still love tactile books, and I still buy them. Even if I bought the audio, I still buy the tactile, because I'll go in and I'll whatever. I'm a geek. I make notes and stuff, but and I like seeing it. I'm like, okay, I know that, so it gives me warm fuzzies, I guess.
No, absolutely. I depends on the book. So like what I've been listening to now, because I drive from Baltimore to DC, so I have like an hour drive to work. Let's see here. I'm looking at my playlist right now. Can't Hurt Me was one of the best Audible books because of what you said, right? So David Goggin has a ghostreader, I guess. Some guys, not him, read the chapters, and then after each chapter, Goggin will step in and they'll discuss each chapter and the contents in it, and it's powerful. It's like a podcast.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, it's genius. Yeah.
I wish they all did that. I'm trying to think who else did that. The Third Door, which is amazing. Alex Minayan, shout out to him. And then one of my favorite entertaining books that I like to read or like to listen to is When I Stop Talking, You'll Know I'm Dead by Jerry Weintraub.
Oh.
Yeah. He is I guess he was in the movie production industry or something like that. He worked a lot. He's an older guy from New York, and you can definitely tell by his accent, but he worked with Elvis and Frank Sinatra, and obviously wrapping them up and putting a bow on them for the public and getting their names out and back marketing back in the day. But Audible is just so fast. It's just, I love it, man. It's just, I can't get enough of it. And it's not free because my wife lets me know about it. But it's definitely a great resource. Podcasts are free, and you get to listen to episodes like this and find out authors, find out about authors like yourself, and, learn a great deal of information and listen to your story. You're on Audible, right?
Yeah, the book is on Audible. It's funny because the publisher sent audition tapes for who was going to read, who's going to narrate the book, and they all read my first chapter. And these guys they're all fascinating. It's all weird. I kind of wanted to do it, but there's a lot more to it. And although the subject matter is pretty, triggering, I kind of wrote as dark humor, and only one of the guys said, "Is this kind of supposed to be dark humor?" I'm like, yeah, okay, he gets me. I want that guy. And he was an actor from LA, and he did it. And my friends and family who have read the book, the tactile book, was like, I had to get the Audible book because this guy's so awesome. He makes me laugh. He does female voices in female voices type thing. He performs it. But not overly, but they find it half hilarious because he treats it like dark humor, and it's quite the performance. I don't know. He did such a great job. I actually reached out to him directly afterwards. He's like, people are loving it, and he was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was great. There's one guy who had a voice like Kelsey Grammer, just super theatrical, and I'm like, oh, that kind of doesn't fit, but it's kind of awesome at the same time.
That's your book, though. They're reading, isn't that weird?
It's so weird because the opening chapter is a suicide attempt, and I go from hating myself, I go to 0 to 100 really quick, and I go to hating myself and trying to hang myself to why don't I try autoerotic asphyxiation right now, and just this weird awful thing, just kind of lighten the mood, and I have my cat watching me, and that sort of thing, just to get the point across. I really didn't want people to look away, right? I really wanted to let them to get a sense of how deep, how painful it was, but not to look away. And so I tried to just keep the reader invested that way, where they just shaking your head, and the deeper I get into the partying and the ecstasy and the cocaine and the sex, and you're just rolling your eyes. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's fucking gotta get his act together. It's it's so I think I succeeded that way. I hope so anyway.
Well, people are gonna listen to this and be like, who's this guy talking about? This isn't the guy that I know that from this podcast. It's in this book.
That's so. So a podcast host sent me that exact conversation. That I guess someone emailed her, and she said, "This I just got this," which was awesome. Because which I always like to try. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I like to say, I'm in a great place. I'm grateful for every moment, of joy in my life. I'm actually really, I'm looking forward to helping as many people as I can. Love my daughters, love my wife, and then I get into the story where I hated myself. I wanted to commit suicide. I treated people poorly, and I was very honest about that. I was really honest about like the awful human I was. And you and me now are kind of like buddies sitting kind of at the bar over a beer drinking, just having a chat. But to go back and read what I wrote, I guess, and look at what I've done, you're just like, oh, this is the same guy. Holy shit,
Do you ever fear going back to there?
No, not really. So getting sober was a difficult series of failures. I describe it as you take one step forward and you fall 5 steps back, but then you get up and you're one step forward and maybe only 4 steps back. Because and my wife and I, it was very much our story. Like she's very much the hero of getting us out. Was we slipped constantly, and maybe we'd slip. Every weekend was 4 days a week went down to every weekend. Every weekend was like, okay, maybe we need to take some time off, and then a month would go by, and then there's a reason to go out, and that's the life I built, right? Is to go out and party and do all those things. So those people are pulling you back, and so you kind of like have to shed those people. But we forgave ourselves. You know what? We fucked up. Okay, let's. I hope you're allowed to swear. I assume you're allowed to swear. I've heard your podcast.
What are you talking about, man? We don't fucking swear on this show.
You've had Aubrey Marcus on here. You swear.
Asshole, just cussing on my show without asking me.
That's why you hung up. So the biggest part of it is we forgave ourselves. And we got rid of that condo I was living in with. We, got into a house, and then we stopped, and then we had some parties, and then we slipped, and then she got pregnant, and we were both like, oh, zero tolerance, and that was it. that was the clincher for us, and then we left too, right? So I retired. I just sort of sold enough stock to leave, and we sold all of our belongings and went to Southeast Asia and just chilled, just explored, and then That's we awesome. Got back. Yeah. So so the people that were meant to have in our lives showed back up, right? The rest of the people, the hangers on, they're all gone.
No, they always leave, right? Like
they always leave. Yeah.
They always leave.
No, I'm not paying for bottle service anymore.
I mean, I feel like everyone has to go through that. Like I had to go through that, right? Like I had to, experience that where you're hanging out with a bunch of people and you have one thing in common. You guys go out 4 nights a week and Thursday through Sunday, and you guys want to be together because being alone and being hungover and being depressed is not fun. You know what I mean? Like but
so true.
But at the end of the day, it's like, you got to learn that shit, like you got to go through it to experience it, or else, it's like, it's just life. It's just learning.
I touch on that in the book several times, but what percentage of those people out there are going through shit or are avoiding going through shit, right? Like they're out there for a reason. When your buddies pull you up together with their drunken slurry voices and I fucking love you, man. Like that's them reaching out. Right? That's trying, but that's something's missing there. And I had to go through that so much.
What is missing there though? Like what is it? Like it's like that, you feel that, but I mean after a while it's like hell almost, right? Like that repeating of like shallow shallowness. It's like not even a substance. It's like, because I've been there, man. Like I've been there 100%. Like, you know, I like those guys. I love those people. You know, I really do. I genuinely love them. Love those people because they help grow me who I am today. But it's like, what is that? You know, like, I don't, is it like youth? Is it coming up? Is it like, you know, just, I don't know. I don't know. It's just like you said, then you have your child and then zero tolerance. And, you know, you look at your kids and you're like, man, I don't want you to experience that. But I know that you are. Like, I know that you're going to have to go through that for yourself. You know, like it just sucks, you know, that we have to do that. Like we have to like attach ourselves to such shallow things and things
Well,
that
I think
anything.
people are looking for connection. People are looking for purpose. They know, you know, I just read Liz Plank's book on modern masculinity, and they do longevity studies. The biggest longevity study by Harvard concluded that our friendships, our relationships, is the biggest indicator of longevity. Like more than obesity, more than cancer, more than disease,
Really?
right? It's crazy. And we know that, you know, like the blue zones and the Okinawan study is it's all about connections and who, like in those longevity studies, they're still at home with their families, right? Their families
Mm,
are living with them still. Their friendships, they're doing things within a community. Always. They look at the nine habits with their diet, lifestyle, whatnot.
mhm.
But it really comes down to their connection. And purpose is a big one as well. I was lucky that that my wife did get pregnant. I didn't know how I would react. But I reacted by like cartwheels and crying and so excited and that surprised me. I didn't expect that. I was worried I would be some sort of dick and be like,
Not
oh
mine.
fuck, now what are we gonna yeah, we're gonna test. Like what are we gonna do now? And I saw that. I mean, meditation is a big part of that. I'm sure you're able to look at yourself being like, wow, you actually reacted well. And not only did I react that way, but 6 months later, I left work and I was working 80, 100-hour weeks. I was just like, and I loved the people I worked with too, but 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night. Yeah. You can't do that. I can't, that's not the parent I want to be. So,
Mm-mm.
I was lucky. I had that purpose. And like I said, the friends that I was meant to be with, I'm with now. And, friends aren't not something you have, it's something you do, right? It's something that you make an effort, and friends who make an effort, and I'm shitty at it. I have to be reminded and be like, you got to hang out with your friends because um, uh, that has made all the difference. I've reconnected. There's a whole, I think, a chapter on the people I've ostracized throughout that
Sure.
awfulness. um, One of my closest friends I've reconnected with. I reached out and after like years, because I was a shitty human, I was a shitty friend, and I was vulnerable. I said, "Listen, this is how it was," and then we've reconnected. He's like now one of my closest friends once again. I was just talking to him last night about it. So just sort of grateful for your friendship and
Mm.
being
Yeah.
vulnerable with that.
Because it's weird too. Because like we outgrow them, and it's like once you start changing for that positive, like you'll see the people start kind of fading away because in themselves they hate to see that you're growing. They hate to see that, and it's nothing against you or anything like that. It's just that they see you growing and they kind of feel bad and they're not doing anything. So like they'll hate you for that. And I mean, I've seen
It's
it.
yeah, it's tough. I Some of my closest friends I made was at Foot Locker in my 20s. And I loved those. And I thought Foot Locker was going to be the end all. I just loved working for them. I loved the product, and I was big into basketball and boxing. I loved the stuff. Um, but then I just sort of fell into my own, and I started building, a tech company. It was doing well, and you're trying to hold on to those friendships, and your problems are not the same as their problems, and you're feeling resentments and stuff, and love every one of them, but we do sometimes go our separate ways. That said, not all of them that went. That's like some of them are still. There's a couple
Sure.
of them are still quite close
Your
with,
friends.
because it doesn't matter. That other stuff doesn't matter when, I one of my best friends, I think I revere him as a father. I revere as a like I'm just blown away by the human he is, and it doesn't matter, and nothing else matters where he works or what he does.
That's awesome. Yeah, to all my friends out there that I don't talk to anymore, I still love you guys. Like no doubt, you guys have built me basically and helped. Especially the ones back in Delaware, the ones that help build my foundation. Like that's what they do. You hang out with someone until you grow, or they do, and you try to stay on the same level, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Like you though, I'm terrible at connecting. I tend to get too busy in life and forget to text or message or anything like that, and it's tough. It's tough with kids. I mean, how many kids do you have?
Two. Well, there's a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. So it's a busy household. So yeah, everything's pretty much text friendships, or backyard visits, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I could talk to you all night, but I don't want Audible to shut us off again. How can people connect with you?
People can't spell my name, so I bought beforeileaveyou.com, which is the title of the book, and then that's the website that describes the book and all the ways you can purchase said book. There's also a contact form. I answer everybody. I've been able to keep up, which is awesome, because people are sharing, so it's a safe space. And then Twitter, it's Rob Imbeault, ROBIMBEAULT. So I'm on Twitter. That's the one social media that I allow myself. Everything's public on Facebook, but I'm pretty, boring on Facebook. So if you want to hit me on Facebook, that's cool too.
That's awesome, dude. What do you want your legacy to be?
I don't really think a lot about legacy. That's a place I'm not. Like, I try to be present. So, right, I'm just Michael Singer, like you described, in another one of your podcasts. I'm just surrendering to life's flow. I want to be a great father. I want to leave some good art behind, some thoughtful, hopefully, thoughtful, provocative writing. That's pretty much. I want to be a good human.
Be a good human. I love that. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining the show. This has been excellent, man. I apologize for the technical difficulties. But I think we're going to help a lot of people out there. And, thank you for writing that book.
No, thank you. Thank you for your show, man. Thank you for all you're doing.
I want to say thank you to Rob for joining the show. I want to say thank you for listening. I hope that you guys get inspired by episodes like this. This was a tough one for me because I don't necessarily put things out there like that, especially personal information. Just, I don't know. But at some point, you got to just say, fuck it. And you got to show you got to be you. And you can't hide that at the end of the day. You got to promote being yourself. And this is who I am. And I just appreciate all the support that you guys give me. It means a lot. So follow me on social media at Instagram at tdowns80, on Twitter at downstrey. Check me out, yoursuperiorself.com. Leave me a message. Let me know how you guys are doing. All right, guys, I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you later.